Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. I literally recorded this and it was amazing and my mic died. So we're gonna do this again. So this might be a lot more quicker than the first video, which might be exactly what needed to happen because the first video was a little bit longer than I expected. Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. Today's video is going to be about Tarotstrology. And we're going to be putting tarot and astrology together so that we can better understand our charts because that's what we're here to do, right? We want to understand our charts better. We want to be able to read it better. We want to be able to really decipher. We want to really decode. We want to understand the language of energy, right? And as they say, symbolism is the language of the universe. So, what is tarot if not language? Okay, so let's decipher this. Let's get into it. So we just had a Virgo lunar eclipse, and to help me better understand this Virgo lunar eclipse was to put my hermit in my seventh house. So I have Virgo in the seventh house. If you didn't already know, I'm a Pisces ascendant. And so when I understood it by saying, what does hermit in the seventh house mean? Oh my gosh, my mind got blown away. And I suddenly understood what it meant to have Virgo in the seventh house. So let's talk about it. What does it mean to have hermit in the seventh house? Well, the hermit talks about needing seclusion, right? Needing to go away, needing to get right with goddess, needing to be at one with goddess, needing to be at one with self. Okay. The hermit talks about deep introspection. Okay. It talks about retreat. Okay. And what does the seventh house talk about? It talks about partnership and one to one connections. So when we put those two together, it can mean that someone can really need deep retreat from partnership. Okay, this might be a person that really feels like they, you know, just they need a retreat, you know what I mean, after they have had like a couple one-to-one connections, you know what I mean, or just one-to-one interactions. They want to process and reflect about their connections very deeply. Okay, this can also talk about someone who feels at one with goddess, at one with source during these one-to-one partnerships and connections. They might feel like they have more of an access to the divine via their partnerships and via their one-to-one connections. Okay, so that's just a little bit about that. All right, so I have the major arcanas here that represent my big three. I'm going to talk about them very quickly, just because I'm afraid that this mic is going to give up, and I'm just like, no. Okay, so the first two cards here represent my sun sign. My sun sign is in Aquarius. We have the star card and the tower card. The tower card are mostly associated with Uranus, specifically more than Aquarius, but I have it here today just to kind of talk about, um, just to have more representation. So the star card talks about having faith. Okay, it talks about hope. It also can talk about the future, and I do see the symbolism in this particular deck, the mermaid deck, having to do with making a wish. Okay. Um, we also have the tower card here, which talks about unexpected events. It can talk about, something being broken down, um, just very chaotic event, a chaotic breakdown of something of some sort. So, looking at these two cards, what I kind of get, I'm trying not to like read them, you know what I mean? But what I'm getting is like somebody wished, you know how some people are like, be careful what you manifest, because you might say like you want like $10,000, and then like you end up getting in a car crash, and that's how you end up getting the 10,000. Like that's like kind of the energy that I'm just with these two cards next to each other. Like like that's not what I'm saying Aquarius is. I'm just saying like for some reason that just wanted to come through. So yeah, maybe that's something for somebody who's watching, like, be specific in what you want to manifest. A lot of people say too, like when you say things like, "Oh, I want like $10,000," like make sure you're saying like with no harm, the best possible outcome, things of that nature. So anyway, yeah. But anyway, this card is the one specifically associated with Aquarius, which talks about hope. Okay. And I always look at this card and I think of it like in terms of dragon tales when they're like, I wish with all my might. Is that how it goes? I wish with no, that's not how it goes. To fly with, I thought it was like, I wish with all my might to fly with dragons in a land apart. Anyway, that's how I see this card as well. So what does the star in the 12th house talk about? The 12th house talks about astral travel. It talks about altered states of consciousness, dreams, what's hidden, what's forgotten, the imagination realm. Okay. And So when I think about the star in the 12th house, specifically what was coming to mind when I first made the video was the star in the Rider Waite Smith deck. And in that deck, we have the woman, she's naked, she has 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on the land, and we see I think it's like 11 stars above her, don't quote me. And nakedness talks about freedom, right? It talks about vulnerability, it talks about truth. And if you didn't already know, I have a video about like us being star beings or star bodies. And there's a connection between as above, so below, specifically within that card. Um, so I'm seeing that connection, and in relation to the 12th house, there is this kind of mirroring quality that's coming to me intuitively. Keep in mind that I only really researched Hermit in the 7th house, like actually researched, and now this everything else in this video is coming through via my intuition, via my intelligence, etc., etc. Which intuition is intelligence. But anyway, let's move on. So I have Cancer moon in the 5th house. So with that being said, the card associated with Cancer in the major arcana is the Chariot. And the Chariot talks about success, it talks about ambition, it talks about drive. It also talks about travel. It talks about movement. It can talk about balance as well. Like needing to be balanced in order to, like, because usually the Chariot, well, not usually, but popularly, there's two Sphinx, and you have the conductor, right? And you need to make sure that these Sphinx are going the same direction, right? So you need to have balance, you need to have control, you need to have mastery, okay? Which all of the things that you gained, you should have and have gained from the first 6 cards, right? And now here you are as the Chariot, and you're ready to move. You know what I mean? So yeah, having Chariot in the 5th house the 5th house talks about pleasure. It talks about performance and entertainment. It talks about creativity. It talks about leisure and fun. It also talks about romance and love. So it does also talk about children as well. So having Chariot in the 5th house can really allude towards this, like having a lot of drive and ambition as it relates to these 5th house matters. I would say that definitely applies to me. Okay. All right. And honorable mention, which I'm not going to get too deep into in this video. But I do have the Lovers card here to represent Cancer as well. I do associate this card with Cancer. It depends on the reading as well, mainly because the Mirror, as well as the Devil and the Lovers being opposite cards. The Devil is associated with Capricorn, although the Lovers is associated with Gemini. I do again see it as depending on the reading, etc. Especially if it comes out with the Devil, I definitely see it as together. Except of course we know the Devil talks about chains and attachments and fears and anxieties and things of that nature, whereas the Lovers talks about freedom in love. It talks about soulmate connections. It talks about, which again, the Devil can talk about a soulmate connection too, but it's one that's maybe addictive and heavily rooted in you know just like past life karma that's not freeing. It's like you guys need to free yourselves. So anyway, another topic for another video. Let's get into my rising sign, which is Pisces. Okay, so we have the moon. I'm just going to show all the cards first. We have the Hanged Man, the High Priestess, and the Fool. Okay. So let's start with the Fool. The Fool card talks about blind faith. Okay. And I absolutely see that with Pisces. You know how people are like, oh, we're in our Delulu season. Pisces is delusional. Well, if you want to talk about delusional, let's talk about the Fool, literally. So, yeah, the Fool card talks about blind faith. It talks about like just feeling majorly protected by the divine. Okay. And it talks about being divinely guided. Okay. So what does having Fool in the first house mean? Well, it talks about you feel like you are divinely guided. Okay. You are literally the embodiment of the Fool. You're always going on a new adventure, on a new journey. You're probably always traveling. And there's always something that you feel like is guiding you. And I absolutely agree with that for sure. Right. Next, we have the high priestess. The high priestess talks about the oracle. She is the seer. Okay. She is the messenger of divine wisdom. Okay. Um, and the high priestess in the first house talks about, well, being the seer, being the oracle. And, I can absolutely attest to that. I am a seer. Okay. All right. Next, we have the hanged man. The hanged man talks about uh, feeling out of control, situations in which you need to surrender control. It also talks about spiritual enlightenment and looking at things from a different perspective. Popularly, the hangman has a halo around his head, and saints in Catholicism, they have halos around their head. They are spiritually enlightened. And so the hangman talks about, again, needing to surrender control, and that's something that is very huge, I think, for Pisces, as well, in relation to, just needing to let things flow. You know what I mean? It's like you don't flow and you got caught. You know what I mean? Like, the best way I can describe it is like, Pisces is represented by the fish, right? The fishes. So, the fishes are swimming, the fishes are going, the fish don't got a plan. The fish is being divinely guided. That is the plan, and that is the only plan, and that should be the only plan for the Pisces. Okay. Then once the Virgo comes in, because the Virgo is the opposite sign, and the Virgo is like, we need a plan, and Virgo is like being critical and etc. Look, we all the signs have a place, okay? And I'm just talking about the archetypes. Then you have Virgo coming through, and Virgo's like, we need a plan. We can't just be out here being guided. Da, da, da. And look, now you got caught up in the net. So, thankfully, the good thing when you get caught up in the net is that you gain spiritual enlightenment. You have no choice but to surrender control. You have no choice but to rethink things. Okay, you have no choice but to go within. So it's like, also there's this energy that I'm getting right now when it comes to like having Hermit in the seventh house, is that other people, right? One-to-one connections, partnerships, other people cause you to go within. And I'm not saying that in like they're bad people and like you need to get away from them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when people tell you things, right? When people criticize you, or they tell you you need a plan, or whatever they're telling you that just kind of maybe doesn't resonate with you or whatever, and then maybe you get caught up because their plan and their journey is different from your journey, right? Your journey is divinely guided. Your journey is not like is not in a step by step manual like some people's. It's just not. Okay. And so when you get caught up, thankfully it causes you to go within. It's like, oh well, I don't got nowhere to go but within, right? So that's also the energy that I'm getting. And last but not least, we have the moon. Okay. And the moon is the card that is the most associated, is the most tied to the Pisces sign. Okay. Okay. So what is the moon? It talks about dreams. It talks about the subconscious. It talks about the past. It talks about past lives. Um, it talks about one's feelings and one's emotions. It talks about what's hidden. Okay. And so having moon in the first house, and I didn't even talk about what the first house is, but I do have a whole video if you do want to watch that. So the first house talks about the self. It talks about one's perception of reality. Um, and I talk about this in the other video. Our perception of reality makes way for how we literally move. How we literally move. Okay. And so having moon in the first house means that you perceive reality through dreams, through symbolism, through things that are hidden, through maybe things that are unknown. You know what I mean? The moon also can talk about fears and anxiety. Okay. So this could be moving through reality um, via fear. Like, your fears are a large part of why you move the way that you do. Your anxiety is a large part of why you move the way that you do. Particularly for me, I resonate mostly with my dreams. My astral travels specifically are is the reason why I move the way that I do. So yeah, that's all the cards that I have for you guys today. Um, Again, or I don't think I mentioned this in this video, because it's my second time recording this. The minor arcana you can also use to do this, and the way that you can do it with the minor arcana. The difference in the minor arcana is that they're associated with a sign and a planet, so that's the difference. Okay, and so, for example, don't quote me. I think the Venus. No, no, hold on. There's a card associated with Moon and Cancer in the Minor Arcana. I don't think it's the Two of Cups. It might be the Four of Cups. It is the Four of Cups. So I have Four of Cups in the fifth house. Okay, so you can also use it in that way. If you want to use the or I could also say I have Four of Cups with Chariot. Okay, so you can do it in that way as well. There's so many different ways that you can like kind of move it around and do it. But this is just a way for you to better understand your chart. This is a better way for us to understand astrology as well. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys on another video. Bye.